Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. I hope you guys are having a great day and a good week so far. It's been a little bit of a crazy mover, but the markets continue to give us some setups and give us some opportunities, and hopefully we'll see some nice movements coming up later this week as we start to see some pretty important economic data. Now, before we get there, I just wanted to point out the fact that we do have a lot of stuff coming up. If you would like to join us for some of this economic data that we have, like the interest rate announcements for Europe and UK, which should be big events, you can go to daytradersfx.com and get a free trial up here in the right-hand corner. 5-day free trial. It's quick and easy. It takes just a moment. We'd love to have you with us. Okay, so just a quick look at U.S. markets. You can see, obviously, we had a pretty down day. The Dow ended up closing about 217 points down. S&P closed an equal percentage amount, just about down, about 22 points. Everything got hammered pretty good, and the dollar actually weakened a little bit on some pairs and not on others. So we'll have a look at that. As far as news for the rest of the day, we have the trade balance from Australia coming out in about 4 hours or so from now. And we've already seen the ISM report, which came out basically as expected. Some Canadian news, the building permits came out quite a bit better than expected, you can see there. And then we had the ADP report, which came out quite a bit worse than expected. So again, coming up tomorrow is where we have a lot of big news. We don't have too much, definitely trade balance for Australia this afternoon could get things going. But tomorrow is where the big news comes out. So interest rate announcements out of the UK, interest rate announcements out of Europe, the rate statement following up in the UK from the Bank of England, as well as the rate statement from Draghi and the ECB press conference. So it should be a very, very active morning, which leads us to believe that markets may even continue to be a little bit choppy until that news comes out, which is literally 26 hours or so from now. So just keep that in mind. With the euro dollar, what I think is a very possibility is the fact that the euro dollar, number one, is still, remember, 13200 is the top of this shoulder on our weekly head and shoulders pattern. So above 13200, and we could even stretch it and really put it at the highs, which are about 13245, 13250. So it's a little tiny bit of a gray area between 13200 and 13250, but definitely above 13250, all bets are off for this downward movement, and this head and shoulders pattern is completely invalidated. But ultimately, I'd like to see it stay below 13200. If it does, then our head and shoulders pattern should play out, and we may see a breakout and a very nice continuation down through this area here, and a retest of some of these lows back towards 12700, 12750, and so on. But at this point, it looks like we just might be a little bit more leaning in the direction of a move up towards that 50% fib, which is around 132.30. And beyond. So what we've seen here is we've seen some attempts. The euro is definitely consolidating here. It's if you look at it on the 1 hour chart, from this low to this high, it's just been consolidating below the weekly high. It just touched the 23% fib barely, and it's right back up again. So no major signs that we could see a big drop here, although it's very possible. It will hugely depend on what Draghi says tomorrow and what happens with the interest rates for Europe. But I'm kind of leaning towards a break of this 131 131 kind of 10-ish area. We've tested it and come hugely off it. You can see right there. But I still think that we have a pretty good chance of breaking. The fact that this just keeps bumping into that is a pretty good sign that we're probably going to see this break out and continue higher into that 13200 and 13250. So basically, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to get a pending order, even potentially above this high right here, or be buying on the dip with the coming news tomorrow. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. If it gets much below our 130 kind of 40-45 area, then we could, and I want to see an open below that, by the way. If we just get a spike below that on the candles, that could be dangerous, especially with the coming news. So I'd actually like to see the market open below that. But again, with the euro and pound pairs, it's going to be tricky because we have very, very sensitive euro and UK news coming up. So we just kind of have to keep our eyes and ears on that and be real careful and just wait for that. The pound dollar here, I was looking at the fib range from this low, which is around 150, basically just 150 on the dot, all the way up to this high, which is around, you can see almost 400 pips up there, 370 pips up there, around 153.70. That little range right there gave us some tests and some opens below this 23% fib. But then we were unable to achieve that 38% run, and it actually ended up pushing higher and breaking this high. So now I'm kind of expanding this fib range, and if we can stay below this, then I'm once again looking for the 23 and 38% fibs to get hit. We still have missed daily pivots and missed weekly pivots, which could be good opportunities for the coming week, but at least for right now, I'm kind of just sitting out the pound dollar. I'm looking at these ranges, looking at these levels. The one thing that's probably really significant right now is the fact that from this high all the way back here in about January, and we've continued to kind of test and confirm this level through the first parts of May as we consolidated up there and then made some drops in that double bottom. We're back right up to this descending trend line. And so basically, if we look at it on a little bit of a larger scale here, like maybe on the weekly chart, for example, you can see that we're working on a pretty nice little channel down in there, and you can see that we're right at the top of that channel. So this is either the point to break or the point to bounce, and I'm not confident enough of what I think the pound dollar is going to do right now to take too much of an entry until after the news. But just know I'm going to be watching these highs, and we're definitely going to be watching for breaks of 152.75, which is now a good little distance away. And we're going to be watching this ascending trend line as well. So I'm kind of just sitting the pound dollar out. I'm not going to do anything until we get the coming news out of the UK. The Aussie dollar has had this huge decline this week. We had this big run up. The Aussie dollar opened the week and ran up 185, 190 pips, and then it just peaked out, and it has not stopped dropping. It's dropped 275 pips since the start of the week, and continues to be on the run down. Now, while all of these pairs have held their own or even continued higher, like euro dollar and pound dollar, the Aussie has continued to get just beat up, and here it is back below the lows of 2013. I believe it's below the lows of 2012 now as well. It is, and it's actually possibly going to test these lows of 2011, which are all the way down around 93.50 to 9400 area there. So the Aussie dollar is just getting beat up. We have some missed daily pivots, at least one missed daily pivot here. Every time I draw a fib range, this just barely tests the 23% fib, doesn't ever open above it, and then continues lower. Just barely tests and then continues lower. So I'm a little ways away from getting bullish on this Aussie dollar. Again, the fact that it's broken a 2-year low that was both tested this year and last year, and it's just broken through that, doesn't give a lot of confidence just yet that this is going to really make much of a run up just yet. So again, I'm kind of sitting out the Aussie dollar. I'm waiting for some retracement, for some fib levels to get hit, and then probably going to continue shorting it. But again, not doing too much with that pair right now. Interestingly enough, I find the yen pairs to be looking pretty good. And as you guys know, I'm not a huge yen fan, but I trade them when we trade them, and we've had some really great trades on the Aussie yen lately, that's for sure. One thing I'm looking at right now on all the yen pairs, I think the yen, and for a lot of reasons, but just suffice to say, I think the yen might be ready to rally just a little bit. The yen itself, which means I'm looking for runs down on euro yen, Aussie yen, pound yen pairs. And the euro yen and pound yen have two very similar setups, which is this consolidation level. You can see that there's little consolidations happening right here around 129.60, and if we really go to the low there, it's about 129.50. We break that, and I think we could be in for some pretty decent moves lower. So right now we're at a nice double bottom, and as long as it stays above this 129.50, then I think we could see a very nice big run up. Of course, we can always draw some fib levels in there and watch for that kind of a movement. I think there's a good opportunity, above 130 to trade this back up into some of those highs. But again, if it breaks at 129.50, I think it's a great opportunity to really short this pair and take it down into some of these larger levels I think there's literally hundreds of pips of open territory to trade down to on the euro yen. We have missed targets that are hundreds and hundreds of pips down there that have not been hit, and I think this might be the glory day for the yen pairs to really start making that up. The Aussie yen already broke last night, made a very nice little run. Some in the chat got into this, and myself included, and we're able to make some good pips on that one. We're going to hold off on this one for just a little bit because it needs to kind of reset up. But another yen pair that's looking very interesting is the pound yen, and we have this the pound level that I'm looking for is around 151, 78, 151.80, right in that general area. I think below this, I think this pound yen is ready to really make a big move down and a big run lower. And so I'm watching for breaks of trend lines, but ultimately I want to see this break that support. You can see the support's a little ways away now. There's definitely some room before we get there, like 100 pips, but once we get below that, I think there's probably 200 to 300 pips pretty easily below that area to grab, and we're going to be looking at attacking some of that in the trade group. But just keep an eye on that 151.80. That's going to be an important one to watch and look for the break. So ultimately 129.50 on euro yen, 151.80 on pound yen are going to be really good levels to watch for. But again, those are euro and pound pairs, and with the big euro and pound news coming up, we want to be careful and try to trade those maybe after the news tomorrow. But good luck on everything. We'll have some live sessions for the news, and hopefully everyone makes some pips coming up. Thanks, guys.